Hello, my name is Renee Price and I'm the founding director of Neue Galerie New York. Welcome to our museum, which is located in New York City on Museum Mile. It is a privilege to continue to share with you the rich, complex, and sometimes demanding world of German art created between the two world wars. The Neue Galerie's mission is to present art and design of Germany and Austria from the period of 1890 to 1940. This includes the work made by artists of the Neue Sachlichkeit, or New Objectivity movement. Their work, made a century ago, still speaks to us today. Our Spring 2025 exhibition, Neue Sachlichkeit, New Objectivity, honors the centenary of this movement. Its roots are in a 1925 show held in Mannheim, from which the term Neue Sachlichkeit was coined. This name has become synonymous with the art, in fact, the lifestyle of the Weimar era in Germany. This extraordinary exhibit at the Neue Galerie offers a wide-ranging perspective on the period, bringing together over 140 works by more than 60 artists. The revolution in art that occurred in Germany in the 1920s also took place in architecture, as domestic housing was transformed to reflect broader social changes. The original Neue Sachlichkeit presentation showcased a new style of art that had emerged in the aftermath of World War I, characterized by its critical realism, social commentary, and detailed depiction of contemporary life. It marked a significant departure from Expressionism's emotional intensity. I hope you will enjoy this special tour of Neue Sachlichkeit, New Objectivity. And now, Olaf Peters, who curated the show, brings us inside the exhibition.
New Objectivity is really a counter-movement to the Expressionist era before the First World War. It is going back to the real world, to the very familiar, even to the ugly. It is going back to the representational image. There was a famous exhibition in 1925 with the title Die Neue Sachlichkeit, New Objectivity. This is now the 100th anniversary of this exhibition, and our opportunity today is really to think in a much broader sense about the phenomenon, and that makes it even more interesting. So this is not only about painting, we also included sculpture, photography, film, design objects, questions about new architecture during the Weimar Republic. The New Objectivity movement started with major figures of the left wing after the German defeat during the First World War. Social and political circumstances, political uprise, revolution, hyperinflation, for example, using forms of caricature to be critical to the circumstances of the time. But when it came to the exhibition in 1925, there was a political and also economic stabilization linked to the first German democracy. And therefore, this conservative wing became more prominent or dominant. You can say there is more the interest to create a new order, that after the experience of a First World War, we have to come back to something which is stable. This is also a sort of shift in the expression of new objectivity in media. We have one of the really masterpieces of the epoch here in our galleries. This is the famous Bauhaus stairway by Oskar Schlemmer. I think it's a wonderful combination of depicting youth, depicting a community working or teaching or being educated at the Bauhaus. And this is a painting from 1932. So at the end of the Weimar Republic, I think it's really important to consider that 1 year later, the National Socialists took power in Germany and created a racial community, an ordered community, and this is quite the opposite here. What is important for us is to think about the role of the Bauhaus during the Weimar Republic and also the role of the Bauhaus in the context of a new objectivity movement. The Bauhaus was founded in 1919 in Weimar and started as a sort of Gothic expressionist movement or school. And in 1923, there was a change. And this new credo was now art and technology and produce products which are relevant for the workers or white-collar employees and not producing for an elitist small group. Here we're looking at one of the major paintings by George Grosz, which is one of the key works in our exhibition, The Eclipse of the Sun. And what you can see here is representatives of the Weimar ruling classes. You can see the vice president in the middle, an historical figure, but also an allegorical figure for representing the militarism still living during the Weimar Republic. When it comes to the eclipse of the sun, where you see the sun with a dollar sign, and that means that during that period, American money was coming in to fuel the German economy and was one of the reasons for the stabilization. But Grosz, as one of the leftist artists of that period, he was questioning the relationship between the United States, for example, reparations after the First World War, and the ruling classes profiting from that. Karl Grossberg is one of the really important artists of that era we can introduce to a wider audience here in these galleries. And here you see in smaller towns in Germany a sort of uncanny quality, because you don't see any people in these pictures. Sometimes it looks like a technical drawing, but it's also a link to more formal compositions in general. This gallery, really one of my favorites. It's by Georg Scholz, one of the leftist artists. And here we come to a painting with the title of Things to Come, which is the title of a book written by the figure you can identify in the middle, but it's Walter Rathenau, who became also the foreign minister of the German Republic. You see an industrial landscape, and then you see on the left side Frank A. van der Lip, who was responsible for the American government to talk to the Germans about reparations after the First World War. And on the other side, you can see Hugo Stinnes, who was one of the great, let's say, capitalists in Germany at that time. This is really about questioning who is ruling our world, who is owning everything. Although you can identify the historical figures by name, without this historical context, you would clearly identify they really represent also types, the capitalist or the politician. So we have in this context a situation with 4 sculptures and 1 painting. And what I like in particular here is the sort of frontality you have. You're really standing in front of the sculptures. These figures are looking at you, and you can really start to think about what can we label new objectivity. Here we have really one of the most famous portraits by Otto Dix. This is not only an individual, but it's also representing the type of a physician. So therefore, what you also can see in the picture are the attributes to the profession. For example, these instruments in the space. What is also very typical for the new objectivity is there is some reflection on old master painting, producing a sort of glassy atmosphere in this painting. You cannot see how he worked with a brush, for example. No traces are left when it comes to this. When we talk about the new objectivity, these formal aspects are extremely important. It's really difficult to judge what are the impacts of the new objectivity movement after that movement came to an end. In 1933, Adolf Hitler came into power, and that the first democracy was over. A few of the right-wing artists became members of the National Socialist Party and played a role inside the Nazi regime. Some of the artists, more politically oriented, became major figures after the Second World War in the former GDR in Germany. So they are part of a leftist, communist development of art during the 20th century. But there is also a post-history of the new objectivity movement, which is to some degree really leading us to think about advertisement, to think about photography and filmmaking, for example. Pop art, contemporary art. It also contributed to our image of the new woman during the Weimar Republic, because images created new role models when it comes to the life of women at that time. The mission of a Neue Galerie is to represent Austrian and German art and to introduce this to the audience here in the United States. And that's what I really admire here, because it gives us the chance to discover something which was before unknown.
I am deeply grateful to the lenders of this exhibition, and I want to thank the staff and trustees of the Neue Galerie for making it all possible. Olaf Peters is the curator of Neue Sachlichkeit, New Objectivity. William Locisano served as the installation designer and also designed the impressive exhibition catalog available in our bookstore or online. Neue Sachlichkeit, New Objectivity is supported by the President's Circle of the Museum, our highest level giving group. As always, we are most grateful to Neue Galerie President and co-founder Ronald S. Lauder. His vision, enthusiasm, and generosity knows no bounds. Thank you, and auf Wiedersehen.